In this video, we are going to discuss the tree data structure and its one traversal algorithm, that is post-order depth first search. I will give you a line-by-line simple explanation of all the code that we will write in this video. Watch this video till the end, as we will also do a dry run of all the code so that we understand each and every line of our code.
My name is Aditya Shenoy from Brainy Things, where I make programming simple and fun.
YouTube statistics show that some of you who watch my videos are not subscribed to this channel, so if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing to this channel to see more programming related videos. It is free and you can always change your mind in future. Before defining the tree structure, we need to define the node class. So I will create a class, I will name it as class node, and I will define its constructor by defining the init function. Apart from self parameter, this function will have data parameter as well. We will set self.data is data. This will be the data of the nodes of the tree, and the tree that we are considering in this problem will be a binary tree. So each node will have two children. Self.left is none and self.right is none. So this is the entire code that we need to write for the node class. Now the example of the binary tree that we will consider in this video will be displayed on the screen right now. I will create tree structure based on this reference image only. So first I will create a root node which will have a value of 1. Root has two children, so root.left is node 2 and root.right is node 3. Now we can consider the children of node 2. Node 2 is root.left, node 2's left children is node 4, and node 2's right children is node 5. Node 3 has only one child, so node 3 is root.right, its left child is node 6. You can verify these connections with the reference image that is displayed on the screen right now. We can execute this cell and our node class and the tree structure has been constructed. Now we can start defining the post order depth first search. So for that I will define a function. I will name it as DFS post order. This function will take a parameter which will be the node. This node will be the root node from which the searching process will start. So the recursive version of the depth first search involves two recursive calls, DFS post order. The first call will be node.left subtree and the second recursive call will happen for node.right subtree. Now the word post over here indicates that the processing of the current node, that is the root node, will happen after the processing of the left subtree and the right subtree. So after these two lines, we will write the processing of the node. So the processing of the node can be anything. In our case, we will just print node.data ending with a space. Every recursive function should have a base case. Also, in object-oriented programming, that is, when we are using dot operators like this, we should think that what will happen if the variables to the left of the dot operator becomes none. In all these three lines, the variable to the left of the dot operator is node. So what will happen if the node is none? Node is none condition will happen when the entire tree is empty. That is, there are no nodes available in the tree. Also, as this is a recursive call, some of the internal nodes will call its children which are none. So in our example, node 3 will call recursively its right child, but right child is none. Also, for all the leaf nodes in our example, there are no left child and right child. Still, they will call its recursive function left and right. So in all these cases where the node passed and the parameter is none, we don't want to process anything. And that is also our base case. So before accessing these three lines, we should add a condition. So if node, in Python, if we pass an object to the if condition, then it checks whether the object passed is having a non-none value or not. If it is none, then this if condition will become false. I will increase the indentation of these three lines so that these three lines fall under the if condition. for nodes that are none, we don't want to process anything. So we don't need to write anything in the else clause or anything. So this is the entire code that we need to write for the DFS post order. Now as our function writing is over, we can call this function. So DFS post order, and we need to pass the starting node of our searching process. So in our case, it is the root node of our tree. If I run this, I will get this result 452631. If you just consider the root node, that is node 1, and the left subtree and the right subtree as the whole, so you can see that 452 is the left subtree of node 1 and 63 is the right subtree of the root node, and 1 is the root node. So you can see the order over here. Left subtree gets processed, then right subtree gets processed, and then the root node. So this is the exact order that we have written in this code. Also, this post order rule is applicable for subtrees as well. So if you consider the subtree where the node 2 is root, that is 4 is left child, 5 is right child, and 2 is root, you can see that 4, 5 and 2, this order is applicable. So 4 is left tree, 5 is right tree, and 2 is the root node. So post order is maintained over there as well. Now we have seen the entire code that we need to write for the post order depth first search. But to understand each and every line of the code and to understand how the program executes, we will do a dry run. So I will run this code snippet that I have written. You can find this code snippet in my GitHub profile that I have linked in the description. This is the debugger. So this is the code section. It has all the lines that we have written, and this is the arrow indicating which line the program is currently executing. This is the calculation section. This is important because as you can see, it replaces all the variables with the actual value that it is carrying, so we can visualize what calculations are happening with the variables. This is the variable section. It will contain all the local variables that are present inside the current recursive call. This is the print output section. As our code is printing something and we are using this console for printing this debugging stuff, we need to have a separate section for printing this node.data. So this print statement will write the output over here, and this is the recursion stack. So as our code is recursive, it is good to visualize the recursion stack as well. And initially the main function will call the root node, which is node 1. So the initial root recursion stack will look like this. So let's execute this code. First we will pass the root node, so node 1 gets passed over here and node is 1. Keep in mind that the node is not carrying the actual integer 1, it is just the representation of the actual node object. So it will actually carry the node object and not the data like the integer 1. So if node, so node is not null, so this becomes true. It enters the if condition. It recursively calls its left subtree, that is 1.left. 1.left is true. So the recursion stack gets filled up. As you can see, node equal to 2 gets passed, and this recursive call is on the top of node 1. Also the local variable section gets changed because node is now carrying a value of 2. If node condition becomes true again because node is not none, it enters the if condition. It recursively calls its left subchild again. So 2.left. 2.left is 4. So 4 is not none. It enters the if condition and 4.left is called. But now 4.left is none. So a value of none gets passed to this function. And the if condition becomes false over here because node is none. So it skips all these 3 lines and goes to the end of the function. And it returns back to its caller, that is node 4. For node 4, this function has been executed, so it will execute this recursive call, that is node.write. Node.write is again none. So if condition will become false, it will return back to its caller, that is node 4. For node 4, both the left subtree and the right subtree has been processed. So it will print its own data in the print output section. And as all these three lines has been executed, it will exit out of the if condition and return back to its caller, that is node 2. For node 2, left subtree has been processed, so it will recursively call its right subtree, 2.write. 2.write is 5. Node 5 is not none, so it will enter the if condition. 5.left will be called recursively, that is none. So if condition becomes false, it returns back to its caller. This is just like the node 4 conditions. For node 5, node.write will be called recursively, that is also none. If condition becomes false, and it will return back to its caller. And as the left subtree and the right subtree has been processed, node.data gets printed in the print output section, and it will return back to its caller, that is node 2. For node 2 as well, node left subtree and the right subtree has been processed, so it will print its own data, that is 2. Now 2 will return back to its caller. So for node 1, left subtree has been called and processed, so it will start calling its right subtree, and node of 3 gets passed in the function. Node 3 is not none, so it becomes true. It will enter the if condition. Recursively, node.left will be called, that is 3.left. 3.left is 6, so node 6 is not none, so it will enter the if condition, and 6.left will be called. But 6 is a leaf node, so none value gets passed. If condition becomes false, it returns back to its caller. For node 6, node.write will be called, that is also none. So if condition becomes false again, and it will return back to its caller. So for node 6, these two lines has been processed, so it will print its data over here, and it will return back to its caller. For node 3, left subtree has been processed, so it will call its right subtree, that is none. So if condition becomes false, it will return back. For node 3, both the left subtree and the right subtree has been processed, so node.data gets printed and it return back to its caller. So for finally node 1, both the left subtree and the right subtree gets processed, so it can finally print its own data, that is 1 over here, and it will return back to the main function where the function was called, because 1 is the root node, as there are no function available in the recursion stack. In this way, the post order depth first search is done. Now, what are the uses of this post order depth first search? Post order depth first search, if applied to an expression tree, returns its postfix expression. Postfix expression is useful for various types of calculators and stack-oriented programming languages. Post order depth first search is also used to delete a tree because child nodes should be deleted first and then the parent node can be deleted. The time complexity of this algorithm is O of n if n is the number of nodes in the tree. This is because we are traversing all nodes in the tree. The space complexity is in order of the height of the tree. So if the tree is balanced, then the complexity is log to the base 2 of n. But if the tree is unbalanced, the space complexity can be O of n as well. If you ended up liking this video, please press that like button, comment any feedback that you have for this video or this channel, share this video with your friends. The code that I write in all my videos of this channel is available in my GitHub profile, whose link is in the description. You can connect to me via LinkedIn, whose link is again in the description. If you want to see a line-by-line explanation of data structures and algorithms like this, check out the playlist over here. If you want to learn Python built-in functions along with various Python features, tips, tricks, and real project examples, then check out the playlist over here. If you want to see a hands-on game development project, check out the playlist over here. And I will see you in the next video.